the newly renovated bungalows, are otherwise now known as the cottages, which we've gone through about half of them so far. And we're looking at cottages number 4 and 8 at this time. And this is just a view of the balcony. We changed the entrance from being in the middle. And so if you are familiar with the property, there used to be an entrance for 2 rooms in one of these bungalow housing structures, and now each bungalow, each room has their own entrance to the side and a little bit more privacy as well, because we split the balcony. So you don't necessarily have to talk to the neighbor if you don't want to, but you can of course go around if you would like. And moving into the room itself, these are brand new beds and frames and new design with the throw pillows and the standard pillows in the back there. And then you can also see the kitchenette unit that we renovated, and we'll get to in a second. Also, we added a working desk with a charging station, so you have USB and also Type-C there as well, right below the television. And that's for anybody who wants to get some work done, especially those work from home people. And this is a wider view of the room, and I just want to make note of the AC, because these used to be fan cooled rooms, and now we got rid of the louver windows, and so now it's completely sealed up, if you will, with, as far as the windows go, brand new windows. And also want to bring attention to the ceilings. So the ceilings used to be flat, and now we brought them up to an apex to give a little bit more room and make it feel a little bit more spacious, but still maintain the coziness. And also bringing some more attention to the far right corner of the kitchenette that we have, and we'll get to that in a second, and also the newly renovated bathroom. So we basically gutted this entire place. Even the floor tiles are brand new as well. And this is another angle of the bed, and just want to bring some attention to the LED bed frame, as well as the embedded nightstands and lamps, and another view of the kitchenette, I should say. And as you can see, it has basically all the utensils and tools that you might need to cook a meal. Included is a mini fridge there down on the left, and a hot plate, coffee maker, ice bucket, all the knives and utensils that you may need to feed a small family. Not necessarily Thanksgiving dinner, but you can definitely chef it up in there, especially if you're staying for an extended period of time. This might be a perfect type of accommodation for you. And that essentially is the kitchen. And now moving on to the bathroom. And as I mentioned before, like floor to ceiling, new floor tiles, new ceiling tiles. We got the LED frame around the mirror just to give a little bit more lights. We changed out the square louver windows for the ship window, I guess you can call it. And we got the rainfall shower head and the glass frame shower door. Even the towel holders, those are all new. And again, trying to bring together everything in the room, the kitchenette, and to complete the cottage experience, if you will. So very happy and proud of how this was done, and really wanted to give a modern look and feel to this new room category, the cottage. And so also with this wider angle, want to bring attention to the closet. So you got some drawer space there, and you got some hanging space as well, and your safe, of course, and the ironing board is on the other side in between the closet and the window there. And yeah, another angle of the room, and also want to bring attention to that long standing mirror there, so full frame mirror. And that essentially is the bungalow, and this is kind of our way of paying homage to my dad and where he started from with this hotel, Travelers Beach Resort. Started right with one bungalow and grew to the 60. Hello and welcome. If this is your first time visiting, a special welcome to you. We got a special feature today. We are doing a driving tour of Negro, Jamaica, particularly focusing on the West End. And this is a bit of a long video. It's about 40 minutes. And depending on where you're watching it, this will be in different parts or one long video. My name is Winthrop Wellington, by the way, and here on my channel, we really discuss all things Jamaica. But today, as I mentioned, we're going to be doing a bit of tour of Negril, and we're just going to flow with it. We're just going to flow with it and see where this takes us. So we are starting this tour off on Norman Manley Boulevard, otherwise known as the Beach Road at Travelers Beach Resort, which is my family's hotel. And of course we gotta wait for the traffic, but across there on the left side of your screen, that is our NEAT Resource Center, or the Negril Education Environment Trust Resource Center. NEAT is my family's nonprofit organization which focuses on education for young people. So right now we're heading south on Norman Manley Boulevard. Pretty beautiful day, as you can see. I don't know what the temperature was when we filmed this, but it was nice. It was a nice day. And so we're heading towards downtown Negril, and on your left is the shared user path. So that's running, walking, biking, and that goes for a little bit over 2 miles. To your right is the Negril Beach Park. It has a basketball court and the beach, of course, and just really open space. Unfortunately, it's closed right now. They have plans to do some refurbishing. And then we just passed the Negril Community Center. And then we're also passing the craft market on your right side. And this is the South Negril River and Bridge. And we're heading to the Negril roundabout. Of course, going into the roundabout, you have to give way. And if you're in the roundabout, you have the right of way. And we are going west end, so we're going to be taking a right here at the roundabout and veering left. And so here downtown, this is a few shopping centers, if you will. There's Little Caesars Pizza on the right, Popeyes, Burger King. There's a Digicel store down here as well. And on the left coming up is Scotiabank, which some people might be familiar with depending on where you are from, but it's a Canadian bank. And I guess officially this is where the west end of Negril starts. And on your left here is Corner Bar, which is a pretty popular restaurant. Great local food. Haven't had it in a while, but the reviews continue to be very good. And on the left, that's Vendors Plaza. That's the Negril Chamber of Commerce owned plaza. And on the right, obviously, we have the sea. Unfortunately, I don't think we panned right, but you basically can see the entirety of Negril on the right-hand side if you were to look right. You need to get a 360 camera next time, right? Anyway, on the left is the Negril Post Office. Not in the greatest of shapes, but that is our post office. And then right after that is Samuel's Hardware on the left. And that's, I would say, probably the most popular hardware store in Negril. Mostly every business uses them. And then on the left, the green building, that's Quality Traders. That's where I do my grocery shopping. Been going there for years. And then we're coming up on the, I guess what used to be the High-Low Value Master NCB Plaza, but NCB and High-Low moved. So that's no longer there, and that place is being refurbished. And this is called Church Corner. As we move through the West End. Just cruising. And this is the Negril Library on the left, and then followed by Negril All Age School. And then this is another hardware store on the left. Hope you guys are enjoying this so far. I'm just flowing with it, and as I see things, I'm going to point them out to you. On the right is the Negril Yacht Club, which is for sale. Hopefully, should be doing a video on that hopefully sometime soon. Canoe Bar is on the right. It's pretty much the only property on the West End that has a beach. Good food there. Haven't been there in a while either, but their food is pretty good. That used to be German bar, but I don't know what it is now. But boats used to pull up there. They used to have a really good pizza. This used to be Boat Bar on the right, but it changed into something else. I'm not sure what it is now. And then Millard is on the left. And if you know Millard, that's 24 Hours Place. Good food as well. And then Patsy's is on the right. So they do, I think it's basically the only standalone coffee shop in the grill. And they do good pastries, good lunch. I did a live stream from there and also did a video with them as well for the channel, which was cool. This is Ocean Cliff on the right we just passed. I did the farewell dinner there for ThropX 2022. Beautiful property, formerly known as the Spa Retreat. But beautiful property, great food that we had there for the farewell dinner retreat. And here on the West End, like, it's a very different experience than the beach. As you can see, like, it's very, it's I wouldn't say secluded, maybe too strong of a word, but definitely when you're on the properties, it's a little bit more secluded and separated as compared to the beach, where there's just more traffic and no real, I guess, super separation between the properties. And really talking in terms of traversing. So to go from property to property here, you actually have to come out the property and walk along the roads here, whereas like the properties on the beach, you can either walk on the beach and go from property to property, or the road, if you will. And if you're across the street from the beach, then we have the shared user path, depending on where the property is. Now we are passing Samsara, which is friends of the family, another good small hotel in the grill. Sorry about that wind sound. I didn't anticipate that, but that just makes sense, just coming from the camera. This is Kaiser's. This was used to be a very famous place for shows back in the day, before my time. Coming up on the left and the right here is Ekstabi, great seafood place. Haven't been there in a while, but do enjoy their food. Great lobster during a lobster season. Three Dives coming up on the right here. Very, very popular restaurant, local restaurant. Great jerk chicken, jerk food in general. They were actually on the Amazing Race, if I'm not mistaken. Almost certain of that. Nice view here of the sea. We're passing Pushcart on the right, which borders its sister property, Rock House, one of my favorite restaurants in the grill. They also have an award-winning spa, one of my favorite spas in the grill, as a matter of fact. And haven't been there in a while. When I say a while, like a few months, but I'm a regular customer there for sure. They do excellent job. Very technical, and I guess you can call me bougie when it comes to massages, but I know what I like and I know what I want, and they do a fantastic job there. That's Corosi's Cliff we just looked at. And as you can see, we're literally just riding the coast here. The only thing separating us from the coast is the property. So this is as close as we can get in a vehicle moving through the West End. Afternoon, everyone. And welcome to another end of the week, midweek live stream that we got going on. Thank you all for joining. Much appreciated. I love these bonus live streams. A little bit different from the Sunday usual. And this is, of course, part of the Jamaican Diaspora live stream series that we have going on. And of course, if you don't know already, the Jamaican Diaspora Conference is starting on June 16th and going to the 19th at the Montego Bay Convention Center. And we've been having, last week we had two spectacular guests. We had the CEO of the president of the VM Group and the president of UTech Jamaica here with on the stream with us. And it was I learned so much, as a matter of fact, both from the investment side, the education side, and of course about the conference itself. And today we have a really good guest as well. We have the CEO of VM Wealth Management and VM Investments, Mr. Rezworth Burchenson, and he's going to be coming on in about 15 minutes at 5:30 here Jamaica time, local time, and we'll have him come on and ask him a bunch of questions, find out about his background, and learn about opportunities in wealth management in Jamaica and wealth creation, I would even say, as a matter of fact. And we love learning from these experts, hearing about also, I would say, boots on the ground opportunities that we may not hear about in the public sphere, or maybe if it is being advertised, it may go over our heads. And I always look at this as a great opportunity to find out exactly what is going on. But of course, as always, please let me know where you're chiming in from, what city, what state, what country. Always love to hear it. I know some people already put that in the chat already. And we got kind of getting ahead of myself, but Sunday we have a pretty good live stream as well. There's a lot going on here in the West with the water situation. I think, did I post about it? Oh, we talked about it on Sunday, last Sunday, and we're going to talk about it again in detail about the project and the water coming this way, and then also even the road repairs, as we've talked about at length on this program, the challenges that are facing Negril. But that's to come on Sunday, and we also have a good guest on Sunday, which I'll go over at the end of this stream as well. What is going on? And thanks for joining. Mosaic, what is going on? Peace and blessings, everyone. Appreciate you. Jahani, sorry, I put up my own comment. Jahani says, much appreciated. Thank you. My pleasure. Appreciate you coming on and joining here on a Thursday evening. Phil, what's going on? Wagwan. Jay Fitz, just saw you the other day. Great bumping into you. Thank you for staying with us. Appreciate it. Always nice to see you. Hope you had an awesome time. Jala Ford says, hi, looking forward to this live. Awesome. Me too. This should be a really good one. Chernby says, joining from Texas. Awesome. Thanks for joining. Nice to have you. Tesha, what's going on? I hope you'll make the Throppers Think Take on Saturday. That's always a fun time. That's our weekly, monthly, what would I call it? Zoom session that we have with anybody who wants to join via Patreon, which I am looking forward to. And that'll be June's Throppers Think Tank. And I don't know if anybody saw the interview that we did last week, but to me, the way I looked at it, it was like a big part of it was an insight. I know we talk a lot about education, the importance of education on here. And we had Dr. Brown on, as I mentioned before, the president of UTech, and really gave us a lot of insight into like what it means to be a STEM country, a STEM island, as the prime minister had declared a few weeks ago. And just we decided we're definitely going to have him on again, just in terms of speaking to the importance of recognizing the importance of the education ecosystem, starting from all the way to from kindergarten all the way up to tertiary education, and just getting students into a good cycle, so to speak. And really want to hop into that a lot more. And at the Diaspora conference, education is a big part of it as well, and really focusing on the future. And of course, the children are the future of our country. And with all these wonderful things happening in Jamaica, We want to make sure that we are creating, or at least giving an opportunity of creating very smart and competitive adults in the future to make our workforce that we have here super, super productive and super competitive with the rest of the world. And I'll also be with the conference. I just want to make sure everybody's aware. I am going to be on a panel on Monday, the 17th, the first panel of the morning, with myself and the Honorable Senator Alvin Hill, who, and there's other people on the panel, but I'm not sure. And we're very much looking forward to it. We actually had the yesterday. I don't know if I could say this, but I guess it's fine. We had like a big Zoom conference call yesterday with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. They organized it for all the panel speakers, the moderators, and many people who are involved in the Diaspora conference. Just making sure like all the protocol, everybody's aware of the protocol and of going to the conference, registering, and making sure that we are kind of sticking to the script sort of thing, and making sure it's like smoothly and professionally ran. So they are on it. It's like, so like this is the first time, not that I've spoken at that many places, but like where this is the first time where the organizers are making sure they're not taking any chances, I would say, and making sure that things are as organized as possible, and the people who are playing key roles have as much information as possible on the conference so that they're well prepared, and we as panelists and moderators alike can just focus on delivering the value that we are brought on there to deliver. And so it was a great meeting to see many of the other panelists on this call, on this very, very large Zoom call, and then also getting the understanding of what is to come. So it's just kind of, things are gearing up, and they've been working very, very hard on putting this conference together. And as I mentioned before in previous streams, like I've been to two of these, the last two, as a matter of fact, the last two in-person ones, as a matter of fact, and it really, really is great networking. And if you're able to make it, and if you're around, for sure, it's worth your time. It's worth meeting other people who are like-minded, who have Jamaica's future and their best interests at heart, and want to see Jamaica do well, and also want to be part of the success, what I believe is the inevitable success forward movement and upliftment of Jamaica. And we hear about all these wonderful things that are happening, and a lot of those wonderful things that are happening, we only hear about them when they are complete or near complete. And I feel like this Diaspora conference is an opportunity to get in on the ground level on uh, whether on the real estate side, the investment side, and then also even if you're looking to set up your own shop of some sort of business or entrepreneurial venture, this is a great way to meet potential partners, potential clients, and to see if there are synergies there. And I feel like that's what I kind of got from the last two that I went to. And then to the access also. You have the access to the decision makers in government, the decision makers in private sector. There were a lot on the call yesterday. There was a lot of leaders of industry on that call, and many of them will be there. So it's just one of those things of just having so many influential, powerful people under one roof that you have literally arm's length access to as well. It just says happy Thursday. I'll be at the next one. Jamaica kept me busy for the last one. Gotcha. Jay Fitz had an amazing time. Awesome. Happy to hear. Philip Layler is in Arctic of Canada, Northwest Territory. Oh wow, very cool. Sounds very far. I don't know exactly where that is on the map. Excuse me. Jala, yes, your last two guests were terrific, very inspiring. Thank you very much. Lisa Marie, hello everyone. Hello to you, Lisa. Thanks for joining. Yeah, last week was really awesome. And then one thing that Dr. Brown also mentioned is we have a new police commissioner. I thought that I was trying to create a reel. We'll put it out. We'll probably get it out this week, hopefully. But he's talking about the new commissioner, and he's going to be making it's opportunity to meet him, and he's also going to be making a presentation. He's part of a panel as well, Dr. Kevin Blake. and he is going to be there. And I know that continues to be, even in the comments that I'm seeing up until today, it continues to be a concern of people who are considering moving here or retiring here, which is totally fair. And I think hearing from the top cop, so to speak, on what, as much as he can tell, of course, what the plans are for security and safety, and also giving you an opportunity to ask any particular specific questions in that are relevant to that. So that's something to look forward to on the at the Jamaican Diaspora Conference. I always forget to put the. I think I put it in the description. So yeah, I did put it in the description. So if you don't have tickets or you want more information on the conference itself, you can go in the description below, and it's right there for you. Let me see if I can bring it up and put it in the comments to make it a little bit easier for you. So Buckley says, "Hey, Throp, congratulations on the article and Travel Noir. Long overdue. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, and I appreciate being in there, or at least my property here. I do appreciate that. So yeah, I just put it in the comments for you. You can take a look at it, get more information, and we'll be going into a little bit more detail on that in a few minutes. And for those that are just joining, and in a few minutes, we're going to have our guest joining us, who is the CEO of VM Wealth Management and VM Investments, Mr. Rezworth Burchenson. And we're going to, of course, get into his expertise and what he does for a living, and learn about the new happenings and offerings in the on the investment side. And then also he is chairing the wealth management through creation wealth creation through real estate panel. And I know that's going to be a very interesting one. I'm sure that's going to be well attended. That's probably one of the most, I would say, at least from my perspective on this channel, it's like one of the topics that people are most interested in is real estate in Jamaica. And there's just so much happening in that regard here in the West, but definitely on the North side. I was getting some questions about that yesterday in a meeting that I was having about, especially like in the Ochi area. And exciting times all around. Exciting times all around. A lot of questions about, downtown Kingston as well, and what's happening on the waterfront and the development plans for that area. So I'm sure people want to know like where to go, what's happening, and it's just cool to know and to see this like high level of interest in investing in Jamaica. And the other week, as I'm sure you remember, or many of you might remember, we had I did not a review, what would I say, reaction to Diplo's house in Portland. He has a 50-acre property that was, beautifully designed. And for those who don't know Diplo, he's like a big American DJ, mostly specializing in EDM music, electronic dance music. And he's gotten a lot of inspiration, and a big part of who he is and how he started really came from Jamaica and from Jamaican music of all categories, as a matter of fact. And now he has built a home here. And so I see we have our guest. He's in the studio here, so I don't want to keep him waiting too long. So I'm gonna ask him to join. Can you hear me?
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Mr. Burchenson? Welcome to the show.
No, my name is Rez.
Oh, call you Rez? Okay, I'll call you Rez. Okay, great.
What
Well,
I call you?
you can call me Throp.
I thought, how are you doing?
Okay, good. Nice to have you on. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you taking the time. And I don't know if you heard me before, but here on the channel, we have a lot of, I consider us to be a very educated bunch as it relates to being informed about things happening in Jamaica, particularly on the investment side. And there has been a lot of built up interest in knowing that you are going to be coming on today, and the partnership that we have with VM. But before we get into the questions along those lines, I'd just like to give you an opportunity, if you could just briefly introduce yourself to our audience that we have here.
Thank you very much. Good morning, noon, night. My name is Rez Burchenson. I'm CEO of VM Investments and VM Wealth from Kingston, Jamaica. I think I'm assuming most of your audience that they're aware of the VM Group with offices across the Diaspora, well-established brand for over 145 years.
Awesome. Thank you, Rez. And just so I know, what is your time limit, just so I can manage our time together?
I was told half an hour.
Oh, okay, we're gonna make it work. So I'm gonna leave the last 10 minutes or so for questions from the audience. And so as we go along, if anybody in the audience has any questions, just put them in the comments and I'll put them aside, and we can hop directly into it. So the first question I have, just to kind of keep it broad, and I was talking about this earlier about just how I feel how great Jamaica has been doing in the last 5-7 years, and there's just been this elevated global interest in Jamaica and in investing here. And from your perspective, what do you think kind of was the spark that made this happen, or was this something that was happening gradually over time and now it's just ballooning, if you will? I'd like to hear your perspective on that.
Okay, that's a very interesting question. I mean, I have been investing in Jamaica for quite some time, and what I say to persons that if you've invested in Jamaica, we have gone through the challenges of the 1970s. We went through structural adjustment. We went through Hurricane Gilbert. We went through a number of debt exchanges. We survived the 2008 financial crisis. And I think an investor in Jamaica would have outperformed a number of benchmarks if you had invested over that long period of time. So I think historically, investors would have done really awesome. However, I think the last couple of years, what we've seen is that the macroeconomic trajectory took a change for the better. Some key variables that I believe investors look at really started to align. Debt to GDP ratio was one. The massive reduction in interest rates, both here and overseas. If you would have told me 20 years ago that interest rates in Jamaica would have been below 2%, that would have been a very interesting bet. But a few years ago, that was where interest rates were. And I believe that a number of investors who are on the sidelines really start to take a look at Jamaica. We have always had strong fundamentals, strong institutions, our court system, the ability to move FX in and out. Person would have looked on to see, multinational investments over a number of years. And we are very much a very friendly investment destination, very much so. Transaction, the timeline to do transaction, not yet at international best practice, but would have been reduced over the last couple of years. And the cost to do certain real estate transactions would have been reduced over the last couple of years. From where I sit, I think Jamaica is very much inexpensive compared to other destinations across the Caribbean. It is not the last frontier, as perhaps I'd want to say, but it is very compelling. It is a hub from Miami, warm destination, qualified people friendly destination. So I think that persons, I don't know, rightfully or wrongfully so thought, look at one metric to judge the investment appetite, and that's crime. And I won't speak to crime. I'm not qualified to speak to crime, but I think it is distorting a lot of positives that's happening in the local economy.
So what I say to crime, right, and it's real. It's
Correct.
happening, and it's unfortunate, and probably, of course, more hard hitting than anything else to the family members and the individuals who are directly affected by it. So I always recognize it. However, it's one of those things that, yes, it's the reality, but there is so many more, like you said, Rez, so many more positive things that are happening, and Jamaica is moving in a positive direction. And I believe at least the level that crime is at now is short term. There will always be crime, and there's no part of the world that crime does not exist. And it's at what level. And I believe, and I think if you believe that crime at this level is going to come down, and is going, and plans are in place to do so, that Jamaica is a good place to invest if you look at all the positive things. In addition to that, there are so many multinational companies, corporations, and even individuals who get the same news, read the same news that we read, the same headlines, and they still, for whatever reason, they are investing tens of millions and even billions of US dollars into Jamaica. And I always say, it's like they see something in Jamaica that some of us don't. And to me, it's like my job is to, at least one of the main premises of this channel is to hopefully open up your eyes to the existing opportunities that are here, and show you like, hey, if they are investing and they are seeing something, please at least open your eyes and consider it yourself.
Yeah, totally agreed. They, I, I learned a concept many years ago when I left university, when I started to invest. And I used to make investment pitches to my investment committee, and I would reserve pitching if all the criteria wasn't selected. And my boss at the time said, you're going to have great investments, but you won't be able to tick all the boxes. There'll be one or two boxes that, irrespective, you have to move forward. I mean, there are no risk-free investments in this world. But what I do know, though, is that the investments that you can make in Jamaica, if for whatever reason your investment thesis were to change, you can easily get out. You can sell the asset, whether it be land, stocks, real estate, whatever it is, a business. You can convert those balances to US dollars in a very efficient way based on the sums less than a week. You wire those monies out and you're out. And so, when you consider the cost and time to get out if your investment thesis were to change, there's certain things that we should contemplate. I also say that, and again, you raise the issue of crime. I won't speak to it because it's a very sensitive topic. But a lot of us on the sidelines who are hesitant to invest in Jamaica would have missed, a real estate transformation for the past 15 years, perhaps 20 years. Of multi-million dollar properties in Jamaica that didn't exist a couple years ago, just based on demand. And I'm quite sure we'll unpack it. I won't elaborate much because I want person to come to the conference. But where are those pockets of value that are still available to locals and persons from the diaspora within the real estate space?
So that was my exact next question. For those folks who have been on the sideline, do you think it's too late for them to get into particularly the real estate opportunities that may be available here?
Okay, so there are many segments to the real estate market. There's residential Kingston, office Kingston, warehouse Kingston. There is luxury on the North Coast. There are apartments on the North Coast. There are condos on the North Coast. Plus you have commercial on the North Coast. My view is that something is happening between St. Mary and Montego Bay. I won't go to nitty-gritty yet, so forgive me. But something is happening where persons, and actually part of it could have started based on, I'm trying to find the right word, that's developments in the political arena in the US for the past couple of years, where persons have been forced to consider owning real estate in Jamaica, but you know, my view is that in a we've just started, and in a number of years, when you drive from Honorable Bay, St. Mary's through to Montego Bay, that's all going to be expensive condos by persons coming to Jamaica, Airbnb, and there are a couple of models for it. I mean, I won't call names, but for those persons who are on the go, there are a couple of models, and you've seen it. You've seen developments who are gated communities close to the beach, close to the international airport, or no, close to Ian Fleming. It allows you to come in, enjoy Jamaica. It's gated. When you leave your Airbnb or you lock it up. But some interesting things are happening in the local space.
And you had mentioned earlier that, in your opinion, you believe Jamaica is inexpensive right now. What did you mean by that?
Okay, so when you compare the cost of other territories, again, I won't call names, what you can get dollar for dollar in Jamaica with a lot more upside based on the tide in Jamaica, I believe is something that persons certainly want to look at. And that's on the real estate space. I mean, if I were to then talk around the local stock market, I mean, I know it's not as robust as the US market at this point in time, primarily just based on our interest rate regime. But again, my view is that our economy will continue to grow. The econ variables that were negative a couple of years ago are turning in the right direction, and persons can start to look at ownership of business in Jamaica, because there are two things that I'm quite sure that you are trying to impart on this channel, Thorpe. One is owning a piece of the rock, so that is real estate, right? But there's also ownership of businesses, let's call it industries that actually power Jamaica. And if you're so inclined around ownership of capital, then certainly you want to look at some of the well-run businesses listed on Jamaica Stock Exchange.
And now that has been an interest of many people on this channel, is kind of getting into the capital markets here in Jamaica. How could VM, or maybe your position as the CEO of VM Wealth Management and VM Investments, how could you, like somebody in the diaspora, how can you get them from being on the sideline and then kind of guiding them in a direction or in a position to invest in the markets?
Okay, so first of all, it starts with information and education. So obviously VM Wealth, who is a part of the VM Group, we're a dealer for the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Simply put, if you reach out to us, we'll call you wherever you are in the globe. We'll take you through the investment opportunities available on the Jamaica stock market. We'll do the requisite onboarding. We understand your risk profile. And then there is a tool of the Jamaica Stock Exchange called JTrader, where wherever you are on the globe, you can trade Jamaica stocks. Wherever you are on the globe, you can buy into Jamaican IPOs. A number of brokers have platforms. You go in, you enter some information you're going to need, like a TRN number, which you can apply for online. You found the account, and you are able to trade Jamaican stocks. Obviously, I'm giving you the summarized version, but that opportunity is available to persons outside Jamaica who like to buy Jamaican shares on whether the main market or the junior market, or they want to participate in initial public offerings available locally.
And just to understand you right, so no longer with that app, there's no longer do I need to kind of pick up my phone and call my broker to ask them to make this trade or that trade?
If you so desire, you can send an email to your broker, but the option is there, just like how persons have Charles Schwab, TD Ameritrade, Robinhood on their phones. to just trade from your phone or from your laptop.
Okay, and we only have a few more minutes here before we open up to questions. But getting into the Diaspora conference itself, you had kind of teased a little bit as to why people should come, particularly to learn about certain real estate opportunities. But why else do you think it's important that people physically come to the Jamaican Diaspora Conference this year?
Okay, no problems. Yeah. So obviously I was biased because I'm from an investment background, so I have to promote my segment of the market, right? However, the conference is around connecting with the diaspora to see how the diaspora, not to see, but also act on how the diaspora can help Jamaica move forward in its economic development. So a couple of things that we all know is that lots of capital does flow from the diaspora to help education, to help in health services, etc. But a lot more is needed. A lot more is needed in those sectors. A lot more is needed on the investment front. So much more is needed. So how do we come together, collaborate to take those flows to another level? How do we ensure that actually, when you look on let me give you some econ numbers. When you look on Jamaica's balance of payments, and I don't want to sound too theoretical, but a large part of financing that deficit is remittances, right? A large part of our economic development is hinged on remittances. But there's so much more that can be done. There's so much more that can be done to develop institutions, to develop communities, community tourism. So I think there are lots of opportunities available. A number of persons are on the ground working, but a number of persons are skeptical, and perhaps rightfully so. But how do we come together, have conversations, show examples that are working, to say, hey, we are vested in this rock. We all want to see Jamaica prosper. Let us see how we can play our part to kind of move the needle in that regard.
And as you mentioned, remittances coming back to Jamaica and the important role that it plays, we had on last week Dr. Brown, the president of UTEC, and he was talking about the new generation of the diaspora, and he considers Jamaican parents who were born in Jamaica, moved to the diaspora, and have children, they're first generation Jamaican Americans. He was telling us that their mindset is not, let me send money back home or back to Jamaica. They were more like, why should I do that? I worked hard for my money, and they don't see them engaging in Jamaica in that way, but more so that they are looking to say, hey, how can I invest in Jamaica in real estate? How can I create an opportunity for myself, as opposed to just sending money back to their family? My question to that is, how do you see the remittance pool, if you will, making an adjustment, and do you see this as a good thing?
Okay, so I think remittances will continue to grow. Fortunately or unfortunately, a number of persons do take up other opportunities in more developed markets, US, Canada, etc. So I expect the remittance pool to grow. What I will say, though, is that, to your point, that whether it be first, second, or third generation, there is an affinity to Jamaica that persons really, sometimes I would say brag about. But I think beyond that, Jamaica, for a country in our size, I think we are, there's this word, little but we tallow. But while we are excelling in culture and in sports, there are economic benefits from those two industries that we haven't yet capitalized on in some respects. And I think, though, that the next phase of our development should be around capturing value from those two industries. But how do we ensure that industries generally in Jamaica have access to capital, with the capital from within Jamaica, outside Jamaica? I mean, there are a number of the startup ecosystem is really developing in Jamaica through assistance from the Development Bank of Jamaica. Lots of hacks and pitch competitions, etc. How can members of the diaspora help some of these entrepreneurs break into more developed markets? Because ideas can come from Jamaica that could be acquired, form companies that could be acquired by more developed markets, or could enter more developed markets. I mean, I give the example of Duolingo. I think it came from Guatemala, which is now a well-established brand internationally. So I think that we have potential. Tech is what I term the great equalizer, because with a great idea, with some financial backing, with great execution, you never know. The next Instagram could come from Jamaica, and can come from Jamaica.
That's a good point. Kind of going off on a little bit tangent here. Like, so do you think that Jamaica has the ability to really become like what I would call like Silicon Island? And what do you think, if you believe that is possible, like what do you think Jamaica kind of needs or would have like a disproportionate positive effect if we were to have X, Y, and Z to help move us in that direction?
Okay, so I'm not going to answer your specific question. Forgive me. Okay, I want to answer like this, right? There are thousands of Jamaicans across the diaspora that have exposure to tech, have exposure to VC investing, have exposure to a particular, a global ecosystem. If those persons were to lend more assistance to the startup ecosystem in Jamaica, provide, I wouldn't even say funding, but funding can be provided, but mentorship and market access, that could really move the needle for the startup ecosystem in Jamaica. There are a number of groups. I mean, I had a list some time ago that if some of these entrepreneurs were to get exposure internationally, some I believe some amazing things can happen. That's just my view.
Okay, I think you answered the question pretty well, in my opinion. So bringing it back to the Diaspora conference, you are a moderator for a breakout session, wealth creation through real estate. What key topics do you plan on covering? Like, obviously, don't give me everything, but just if you can just give us a little bit of a teaser, so to speak.
No, it's fine. I mean, I think the topic is self-explanatory. So the problem I would like to solve on the panel is, where are the opportunities? What's the size of the opportunity? What are the impediments that persons foresee? And can we answer those questions? Can we debunk some of those theories? Are those real impediments, or are those not real impediments? Full stop. Mm-hmm. So for example, if you are thinking about investing in real estate in Jamaica, and it's just a thought, we want to provide you with a roadmap to doing your first transaction. And if you have, a number of properties, you can contribute in the discussion and I believe part of that would also be a real fillip for persons who are looking on, because the person will not see, let's call insiders providing advice, but person will say, no man, a couple years ago, I had a thought, I had an obstacle, but I did a leap of faith. Here are some problems that I had to solve, but now, I am seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. So that's the conversation that I want us to have for that session.
Okay, awesome. Looking forward to it. And we only have a few minutes left here. If anybody has any questions for Rez, please let me know. We have a question here by George. Is there a minimum investment required by VM Wealth?
Okay, so George, 10,000 Jamaican dollars is a minimum. Quite
Awesome.
manageable, quite manageable. Okay, so somebody answered. I think a
Yeah, somebody answered
VMware,
that.
I think a
Rochelle,
VMware client answered.
yeah. Good, good, good. And going back to what you're saying about the perhaps preconceived obstacles, I mean, I would even say sometimes even mental obstacles that people have in their minds about investing. What would you say somebody who's on the sidelines, somebody who's part of the Jamaican diaspora, and they are looking for an opportunity to invest, and they want to invest, but they're still hesitant. They're kind of taking one step forward, two steps back, sort of thing. What do you think their first step should be in order to kind of get over that hurdle?
First is to understand what's the obstacle. I mean, are they concerned about crime? Are they concerned about the community that they want to make investment in? Are they concerned about property management? So it really depends on the challenge. So, it's very important for us, for the session we're going to have, for persons to highlight where they're stuck and just to walk them through. Because persons, there are different things why persons are stuck, but to walk them through the various obstacles that they're seeing.
So what I get a lot on this channel, like, yes, crime for sure, but like that's one. But like what I see is like this hesitation of like, where do I start? They make it seem as if it's like this big thing. I'm investing internationally. How do I get financing? Where do I look? It's almost like they're getting too much they're putting too much information in their head, that they create a multitude of roadblocks in their head, where it's just like it's a lot easier than you think.
Okay, so Thorpe, what could be useful? What could be so useful, if you don't mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't mind, you could do a survey and say, "Hey guys, tell me where you're stuck," and you could let us know at the conference, and let us unpack every single one for the conference. And actually, if after the conference they aren't answered, we can come back and just unpack all of those obstacles. So, for example, one is financing. So you can live overseas and get a mortgage from VM to acquire property in Jamaica. You can. Very easy.
There you go. And I know they always, and again, I don't want for you to give away too much here, but they're always, another thing is like, somebody always asks me, where do I invest in Jamaica? I know you were talking about on the North Coast, Montego Bay, not getting so close to the grill yet. But is that continuing to be the hot spot right now?
I would say so.
Mm-hmm.
I would say so. One more thing. So I know we focus quite a bit on the residential segment of the market, but there are also commercial properties. I know that in the States, yields are quite high, just based on what's happening there compared to locally. I would say, so there is opportunities in the commercial space, but beyond that, a number of the asset managers in Kingston, VMwealth included, we do have mutual funds, let's call them mutual funds, that do invest in real estate, but primarily on the commercial side. So if you want exposure to commercial real estate, but you don't want the admin and operational challenges, invest in a property fund like ours, and you get exposure to quality commercial real estate across Jamaica.
And how would folks find out more information on that? Where can they go?
Give us a call.
Okay, what information can I put on the banner here?
info@myvmgroup.com.
Okay, I'm gonna put that up. So there you go. If anybody wants any information on that, particularly the commercial space, and the mutual funds, and this is my last question. I know we're wrapping up here. I was at the International Real Estate Conference last month, and not on the education side, but more so on the networking social side. When I was talking to realtors and also brokers, they were looking for commercial space like crazy. Like that was one thing that kept coming up. But I didn't understand like why that was happening. Could you speak to that a little bit? Like why there was this, at least at that conference, this perceived demand for real estate space and commercial real estate space, excuse me.
In Kingston?
The broker I'm thinking of in particular was from Kingston. I don't know if he was talking about Kingston specifically, and he was speaking to a realtor in Montego that's in Montego Bay. I know it's wishy-washy and all over, but make what you will of it.
Yeah, no, can't unpack it at the moment. Forgive me.
Okay.
I'll give it some thought though.
Okay, no problem. Getting a couple questions here before we wrap up. What is the average percentage return for the mutual fund?
Depending on the asset class, between 3% to 11%.
Okay. And Rochelle is asking, what are the requirements for VM for mortgage?
Usual job letter, identification. I would say job letter is more important. We want to understand your ability to finance the mortgage. Application form. If there is a property you've identified, the sale agreement, etc. But we start with a pre-call to identify the ability to pay. Then we move forward to the actual mortgage process.
Okay. And Mark is asking, greetings. We are looking to refinance 2 of our properties in Jamaica, a vacant lot and 1 family house in Kingston. What's VM's refinance rate at this time, may I ask?
Our refinance rate at the time currently is 11.5. On the vacant lot, not so much, but would have an interest in the family house.
Okay, sorry, all the questions are coming in right when we're wrapping up. Does VM Wealth publish mutual fund rate of returns?
Correct, we do. Just Google VM Wealth. Somewhere on the website, forgive me, I can't tell exactly where. We do publish our returns on a quarterly basis.
Okay, excellent. And last question, what is the down payment for commercial?
Minimum 20%, but we're flexible based on just your financial standing.
Okay, amazing. And once again, if anybody wants any more specific information, you can send an email to info@myvmgroup.com. And our guest today has been Rez, and I appreciate you taking the time being on here. And we're looking forward to seeing you at the conference. And what day is your panel?
Mine is on Tuesday.
Tuesday. Okay, awesome. So make sure you check it out on Tuesday. Come for the entire week, of course. And thank you again, Rez, for taking the time and being here.
And also just want to encourage the members to follow VM on our social media platforms, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Lots of information is available on our social media platforms. Just one thing around the email address. It's actually manager@vmfinancialgroup.myvmgroup.com. That's the correct information my team just told me.
Sorry, can you repeat that one more time? Manager@VM Financial Group.
One second. Let's get information from you.
Sure.
Personal. I'm trying to give you there's one for personal. 1 second.
Yeah, no problem. Take your time. In the meantime, I'm just going to encourage everybody to go to the Eventbrite link that I posted earlier for more information. And it's in the description, I should say. That's probably easier. If you just go in the description, You can take a look at all the detailed information on the agenda for the 10th Biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference, and you can get your tickets there as well. Reserve your spot based off of the meeting that I was telling you about. Okay, I got it here. Based on the meeting that I was telling you about yesterday, the tickets are going quickly. So make sure you get them fast and furious, because you don't want to miss out on any of this information that we're talking about here, and also the great networking that's going to be happening there. And I got it up there on the screen, and it is manager@vmfinancialgroup.myvmgroup.com. And you can shoot over all of your any specific questions that you have to Rez and his team on investing in Jamaica and all of the fun things that we talked about this evening. And quickly, somebody's just asking, Rochelle's asking, do you need a credit report from overseas? I think that's what they're asking.
Yep. We're going to need some other information.
Okay. All right. Excellent. This has been great. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, up. See you next week.
You're welcome. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Ta-ta.
All right. That was great. Hope you all enjoyed that. I know I did. And it's really gearing up to be quite an interesting one. And I think there's going to be so much knowledge and information given out at this conference. And you get to meet and ask questions directly to folks just like Rez. And you have prestigious groups and institutions like VM Group to help you manage, facilitate whatever your goals are as it relates to investing in Jamaica, moving here, living here, whatever it may be. And I think it's just such a great opportunity. So yeah, you can go ahead and shoot them an email with any questions that you have. I'm going to also, for those who are watching this on replay, I'll also have the email address in the description as well, so you can quickly access that. All right, that was, I guess it was short and sweet, going over a little bit over an hour. I just want to thank you all for joining this Thursday live stream. We'll be here on Sunday again. We got a pretty cool guest, Leah. She does these coloring books. I'm gonna post about it in the community, in the community, on the community page. But she does these coloring books that she donated to NEAT, and she has this great business. And we're going to find out all about her on Sunday. And then, of course, like I said before, we're going to talk about all the happenings that are going on here in the grill, here in the West. But for now, we're gonna wrap it up. This is one of our Jamaica Diaspora Conference live streams. And we'll be doing and talking about it, of course, more on Sunday and getting more information. And just as a reminder, I will be speaking on the first panel on June 17th at the Jamaica Diaspora Conference. So please come out. Let's do the selfie thing. Let's chop it up. Always love meeting you all. That was awesome meeting so many of you at the International Real Estate Conference. I would love to meet a bunch more of you at the Jamaica Diaspora Conference. So please come out to the panel to support. Please come out for the whole week, as a matter of fact. I think it's just so much of a great value for money. Thank you all. Wishing you a good evening. Thank you for participating. Thank you for your engagement. And I will see you all on Sunday. There we go. Trying to end the stream.